Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to replace the pull cord on your Stihl MS180 chainsaw. And this is the saw I'm working on today. It's the MS180C with the Easy2Start feature. To replace the cord on this saw will be slightly different than this saw over here, which is a 180C as well. As you can see on this newer saw here, the recoil assembly is much larger than on the other saw over here. On this one it's flatter. That's because there's less parts inside the recoil assembly, and this one here does not have the Easy2Start feature from Stihl. The procedure to replace the pull cord on each saw will be similar but different. Today I will only be replacing it on the one with the Easy2Start feature. In this case here, the rope has snapped right out of the recoil. To start with, you want to remove the top cover. Just simply turn the knob and lift it up. After that, there's 4 torque screws to remove, and they're T27. There's one here, one there, one here, and one over here. And I usually flip it on its side like this. It makes it much easier. After you've removed this screw over here, you want to just pop the chain brake arm off of the recoil. Once you've got all the 4 screws off, just simply loosen up the gas cap, take it off like this, and do the same with the oil cap over here. Now just reach down inside with needle nose pliers, turn the plastic that is holding the gas cap in and remove it completely, and do the same with the oil cap as well. If you do not remove the oil and fuel cap like I did, you will not be able to remove the recoil assembly. So now that that's done, I'm just going to pull up. Sometimes the recoil assembly here gets caught on the thread, so you have to move it back and forth. And what I do while I'm fixing the recoil is I put the oil and gas cap back on. Just simply insert it like this, it'll go down. Now here's the inside of the recoil. Now the Easy2Start feature from Stihl is this part over here. It makes it easier for people to start the saw. The first thing I start by doing is removing the wire that holds the starting pause, and to do this I'm going to use a pair of snap ring pliers. I just go in like this, spread it open, and then tilt it up. Always be careful you don't break the little knobs here on the pause while doing this. And you don't want to force the wire if it doesn't want to come out. Now I'm just going to grab it over here and just bring it up. Make sure you remember the way that this little wire went in. Now that it's free like this, I know the spring isn't wound up. I'm just going to pull up and keep everything intact here. Now with this part in your hands, just simply pop the bottom spool off, just like that, and now you can remove the rope. To do this, I'm just going to grab needle nose pliers and pull it right out. And now what you need to do is remove the rope from the handle. So again, grab a pair of needle nose pliers, reach in and remove it. And there's the handle. Now I've got my rope ready. It's a number 3.5 rope, and I've got approximately 30 inches. It's a few inches longer than the original rope in the saw, because that way it's easier to trim it than being short. And the first thing I do when I cut my rope is I melt the ends a bit. Not much. Watch your fingers doing this. You can wear gloves if you want. By having the end melted like this, your shirt's not going to fray. Now what you want to do is grab the spool for the rope, find the hole for the rope in it, insert the rope inside. It's going to come up on this side over here in this notch. Just push on the rope till she comes up. And now you want to make a nice knot at the end. For this saw, just a simple knot like this will do. And make sure to pull on it tight to make sure it's nice and secure in there. You don't want the knot to come apart months down the road. Now just pull on the rope. Make sure the knot is nicely hidden inside this hole. And you can push it down like this with a torque screwdriver just to make sure it's nice and tight in there. Now you can roll the rope in a clockwise direction. Now I'm going to grab this part here but hold everything there. And what you want to do is line up this part here inside over here. So these notches will go inside over here. And also when you put things back together, you want to make sure that this washer here is where it should be. So now you want to line this up together, line up the notches with the holes over here. You may kind of want to just start them in like this, and it's easier to get in there. And once the white spool part is locked in, you know it's in properly. Then you can always go back in and line up the washer here. Now at this point what I often do is spray some liquid wrench right on the spring to lubricate it. And if you want your parts to last even longer, you can use some white lithium grease, put a bit on there. I'm going to put some on the shaft here. You don't need much. And make sure you use lithium grease because it's good in the winter time. It's not going to be stiff. Now I'm ready to reinstall the spool assembly. Now before I do this, I'm going to reach down with a pick and line up all the parts, like that little washer I showed you earlier. And once it's lined up like this, I'm going to stick it back on the shaft. Now this here is the bottom of the whole spool assembly. Remember that you have to line up this part here with the end of the spring inside the recoil. So that notch I showed you on the spool will go right here. This is where it locks into the spring. So it's very important that you line this up properly. So now I'm just going to go down and line it up. Now to get it in the spring, I'm just going to turn it back and forth like this. And you just heard it go down. That means it's locked in with the spring. Now I just took it off quickly to show you a quick tip here. If you have a hard time getting that part down, the plastic spool part to line up with the spring, you may have to just bend the spring so that there's more room like this between the center where the shaft is and the spring itself, because the plastic part going in there to grab the spring needs a bit of room between the spring and the shaft. Sometimes I just grab a pair of needle nose pliers and bend the spring a bit. Kind of like this. As you can see, there's more room now and it makes it easier to put that spool part back in. And now back to this part. When you turn it clockwise and it comes back, you know you've got it secured with the spring properly. Now make sure that this little washer is here. Now I'm just going to put a bit of lithium grease over here, not much, but just enough to keep it lubricated. Now at this point you want to reinstall this clip. So just grab it, insert it over the pause like this. And now with the snap ring pliers, I'm just going to bring it back in. When you turn it clockwise, the pause should come out. Now at this point, I'm going to tighten up the spring a few turns. So I'm going to hold the rope and turn clockwise. 1, 2. It's pretty tight. Now I'm going to exit the rope through the hole here. Just reach down inside and pass it through. Once you've got the rope out, don't let it go because it's going to go in and unwind the whole spool assembly. Now grab your handle, run the cord through it, bring it up like this, and I'll run the rope through the second hole. So now I'm just going to make a few knots here. And again, pull on the knots real tight. If you've been trained on how to make knots, that even helps. And once it's tight, just let it go back in. Grab the rope, pull on the handle again to make sure the knot is secure, and now you can let it go in. You want enough tension that the rope comes back in easily. And when you pull on the cord again, you want to make sure that the paws come out like this. If they do not go out and come back normally like this, you may not have installed the wire here properly. Once that's done, you can reinstall it on the chainsaw. So again, I'm going to remove the oil and fuel caps. Hold the brake arm out of the way. Watch that the recoil doesn't get caught on the threads of the fuel tank. The first thing to do now is put back the oil and fuel caps on. And to do this, you just have to insert the end piece inside the tank and put it on. Now what you need to do is put the chain brake arm up on the recoil like this. And this is the specific screw that goes on here. The other 3 screws are slightly different looking. And here's the 3 other screws. So one goes here, one goes over here, and the other one goes right up above the oil cap. And again, it's a number T27 torque screwdriver. And just tighten up the screws evenly, so crisscross when you tighten up the recoil. Then you're sure that it goes on nice and even. Now you want the screws fairly tight, but do not over tighten them because you could easily strip the threads. Now at this point here, I'm going to install the cover and the job's done. Now one tip before you install this cover, you want to line up this notch here and this part over here in these holes here, or else you're going to have a hard time putting that cover back on. That's the first part of the cover I get in there. And then once it's down, I just turn the knob clockwise and that's it. And I'll try your new cord. The difference between the Easy2Start and the regular saw I just showed you earlier is that the recoil isn't spring loaded on the other MS180, but this one it is spring loaded. As you can see, there's a bit of springiness to the rope when you go to start it. So I'll just start up the saw. I'm sure you guys want to hear it run. I'm going to put the choke on and make sure if you start it in your shop that it's well ventilated. Nice little saw. This 180 over here is mine. It's not as new as this one, but they're an excellent saw to have around the house to cut small limbs. Thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully you learned something that will help you to save money in the future. Make sure to subscribe, and you'll see me in my next video.